para karyawan dan staf yang sangat membantu kita. See you guys on the next video.
Ya, terima kasih banyak Pak Renaud Siswanto atas informasi dan penjelasannya terkait dengan wahana Interfood Nusantara TPK. Semoga target-target perusahaan tercapai, terutama pasca IPO, dan tentunya ekspansi pasar semakin luas. Ya, terima kasih pemirsa atas kebersamaan Anda dalam Hangout kali ini. Saya Fajar Wayong undur diri. Sampai jumpa di Hangout edisi berikutnya. Sukses selalu. Buat saya, motivasi terbesar adalah cinta. Karena saya percaya apabila kita fokus kepada cinta, maka apapun yang kita lakukan, perbuatan kita, pikiran kita, tenaga kita, akan menjadi berlipat ganda untuk menjadikan cinta tersebut semakin terjaga. Jadi, apabila Anda ingin mendapatkan motivasi, temukan cinta terbesar, lalu pastikan Anda support cinta tersebut sehingga Anda menjadi pribadi yang lebih hebat. Saya Hilbram Dunar untuk IDX Channel.
Coordinating Minister for Economy asked the governors to add isolation rooms at the sub-district level. Garuda Food plans to conduct a stock split with 5-to-5 ratio. Hello, good evening viewers. Market Headlines is ready to provide you information from business, economic and capital market sector. And as the pandemic is still ongoing, we will provide you the latest COVID-19 information. And please stay safe by taking some simple precautions such as physical distancing, wearing a mask, avoiding crowds, cleaning your hands and having less mobility. And with me Fajar Wayong, this is Market Headline. Let's start Market Headline. The Coordinating Minister for Economy, Erlangga Hartarto, asked the local government not to always rely on the central government in COVID-19 handling. He even asked the governors of each region to add isolation rooms at the sub-district level. The Coordinating Minister for Economy asked the governors of each region to add isolation rooms at the sub-district level. The addition of the main isolation room needs to be prepared in the red zone of active COVID-19 cases. He did not want local governments to continue to rely on the central government all the time.
Kami juga meminta kepada gubernur di daerah masing-masing untuk menambahkan isolasi di tingkat kecamatan. Jadi tidak seluruhnya diserahkan kepada pusat, tetapi juga ada kegiatan yang dilakukan daerah. Dan tadi disampaikan juga oleh Bu Menteri Keuangan bahwa dana DAU, DBH, dana desa, 8% itu memang diperuntukkan untuk penanganan COVID.
Erlangga asked the regional government to immediately accelerate the realization of the use of the funds, considering that the funds had been distributed more quickly by the Ministry of Finance. Erlangga said funds must be optimized to contain the spread of COVID-19. The reason is that currently the hospital occupancy rate in 87 districts or cities is already above 70%. IDX Channel reports. Minister of Health Budi Gunadi Sadikin ensures that the government is prioritizing health issues in dealing with the current surge in COVID-19 cases. Minister of Health Budi Gunadi Sadikin said that President Joko Widodo prioritized health issues in dealing with the current surge in COVID-19 cases. This was conveyed when responding to a question whether the government prioritized the economy or health as an emergency measure to handle the increase in COVID-19 cases.
Dan arahan beliau sangat jelas, beliau memberikan arahan dua hal. Agar kita menangani di sisi hulunya dengan baik, sehingga mengurangi tekanan ke sisi hilirnya, di mana kita bisa menangani agar mencegah orang sehat ini tidak menjadi sakit, bukan hanya menangani orang yang sudah sakit menjadi sembuh. Arahan beliau adalah kita harus memperkuat implementasi lapangan untuk program PPKM Mikro, dan yang kedua, kita harus mempercepat vaksinasi.
Budi emphasized that from the beginning, the president had emphasized that health and the economy could not be separated. From the very beginning, the president said that it was impossible for the economy to be solved if health was not resolved. IDX Channel reports. And viewers, from now on, restaurants, malls are only open up to 8 p.m. Economic observer from Core Indonesia supported the government's decision in the midst of rising active cases, even though it has huge impact on economy.
The government, through Coordinating Ministry for the Economy, has again tightened the implementations of social restrictions, especially for the operational hours of cafe and restaurants. However, Economic observer from Core Indonesia, Yusuf Randy, responds positively to the government's policies. Yusuf assessed that the policy of limiting operational hours is understandable given the spike in the number of COVID-19 cases that continues to increase. This is seen as a good move in reducing the spike in the cases.
Sehingga dengan kembali dikeluarkannya kebijakan pembatasan aktivitas beberapa tempat tersebut, saya kira ini kemudian bisa juga berpotensi terdampak ya dari sisi penjualan mereka. Karena pertama tadi momentum Ramadan dan Lebaran juga sudah lewat, dan yang kedua karena kenaikan kasus COVID-19 gitu, tentu orang akan berpikir dua kali untuk kemudian berkunjung ke tempat-tempat tersebut gitu. Orang kemudian akan memilih ya untuk tidak keluar sementara waktu dan mungkin memesan melalui daring atau online.
In the social restrictions, the essential activity sector can still operate 100% during the micro PPKM tightening period. Meanwhile, on-site dining activities for restaurants are again limited into a maximum of 25% of the capacity. The policy will also regulate operating hours for shopping centers and malls. Shopping centers and malls are again limited to operating until 8 p.m. From Jakarta, Ade Firmansyah, IDX Channel.
Stay tuned with us. Market headlines will be right back after this quick break.
Kini, aplikasi aplikasi mClears hadir di handphone Anda untuk memudahkan transaksi Anda. Informasi aktivitas clearing dan penjaminan tidak lagi hanya dapat diakses melalui komputer di kantor Anda, melainkan dapat diakses di mana saja dan kapan saja dalam genggaman Anda. Fitur-fitur mClears. Equity clearing dan settlement adalah fitur di mana Anda dapat melihat posisi kewajiban settlement anggota clearing hingga nilai alternate case settlement serta informasi gagal bayar. Risk management adalah fitur di mana Anda dapat melihat posisi trading limit, kolateral, MKBD, portofolio harian, risk charge anggota clearing dan kombinasi, serta nilai minimum cash collateral. Derivatif adalah fitur di mana Anda dapat melihat posisi trading limit, margin call, dan informasi clearing derivatif. Terkait pinjam-meminjam efek, terdapat fitur mengenai borrowing information dan lendable pool information, serta lending revenue dan borrowing fee. Serta menu lain yang menampilkan informasi mengenai haircut, risk charge saham, dan nilai harga penyelesaian harian dan harga penyelesaian final. Selain itu, Anda juga dapat mengakses fitur pengumuman, peraturan, dan informasi layanan KPEI pada aplikasi mClears. Download aplikasi mClears di App Store atau Google Play Store. Lakukan registrasi user Anda dengan menggunakan alamat email berdomain resmi yang sesuai dengan anggota clearing Anda. Setelah registrasi, Anda akan diberikan kode OTP di email Anda untuk verifikasi, dan aplikasi mClears Anda siap untuk digunakan. Anda dapat mengakses seluruh menu pada aplikasi mClears dengan melakukan aktivasi berlangganan premium yang dapat dilakukan dengan memilih menu Get Premium. Download aplikasinya sekarang, lakukan registrasi, dan dapatkan kemudahan dalam genggaman tangan Anda. Kemudahan informasi KPEI dalam genggaman Anda.
Kita juga harus menemukan passionnya kita, istilahnya namanya ikigai.
Welcome back. Minister of Finance Sri Mulyani Indrawati ensures that the formation of ultra micro holding is still ongoing. Sri Mulyani said that the current process is still waiting for the signatures of the ministers, whose permit will then be issued by President Joko Widodo. In relation to the formation of an ultra-micro SOE holding, Minister of Finance Sri Mulyani Indrawati stated that the formation process is still ongoing and there are no obstacles. She said the current process was still waiting for the signatures of the ministers, which would be continued for the issuance of permits by President Joko Widodo.
Perkembangan dari izin holding BUMN Ultra Mikro sekarang ini sudah hampir selesai, tinggal paraf dari para menteri dan nanti akan ditandatangani oleh Bapak Presiden. Jadi tidak ada masalah, ini tinggal proses saja mungkin dalam 1-2 minggu ke depan.
The Ultra Micro Holding itself is an integration of 3 SOEs, namely Bank Rakyat Indonesia, Pegadaian and Permodalan Nasional Madani. On the other side, the Ministry of State-Owned Enterprises ensures that the Ultra Micro Holding process this year will run smoothly. IDX Channel reports. The government intends to facilitate access to capital for ultra-micro businesses through the establishment of ultra-micro holding. So which state-owned enterprises are members of this holding, and how far has the holding process been? Let's examine it further through these following infographics. We can see in the first graphic the members of ultra-micro holding consisted of 3 state-owned enterprises. The first one is Bank Rakyat Indonesia or BRI, the second one is Pegadaian, and then Permodalan Nasional Madani or PNM as the third members of Ultra Micro Holding. And viewers, the impact of Ultra Micro Holdings on economic growth will not be seen immediately in the short term. Therefore, any ecosystem built by the government will not have a big impact if there is no public demand for Ultra Micro or MSMEs. Nevertheless, it is hoped that the micro holding rules can be issued and implemented as soon as possible, so that there will be significant changes. Meanwhile, in-depth economist Eko Listianto assessed that support for the development of the ultra-micro ecosystem is very much needed so that businesses can develop and advance. The ecosystem is expected to encourage more efficient financing with low interest rates. And still related to ultra-micro holdings, let's check the performance of BRI as a holding member with the largest valuation in the next graphic. In the next graphic, we can see the net profit of Bank Rakyat Indonesia in trillion rupiah. In first quarter of 2017, 6.6 trillion, 7.4 trillion in 2018, and then in the first quarter of 2019, 8.2 trillion rupiah, first quarter 2020, 8.2 trillion rupiah, and in the first 3 months of 2021 or the first quarter, Bank Rakyat Indonesia obtained 6.8 trillion rupiah net profit. And viewers, Bank Rakyat Indonesia will carry out a right issue and plan to deposit shares in forms other than cash by the government of Indonesia. With these two corporate actions, BRI will become the majority shareholder in Pegadaian and Permodalan Nasional Madani. And after this corporate action, the company's net profit is expected to increase rapidly from the position in the first quarter of 2021 at 7 trillion to 8 trillion rupiah, or an increase of 14%. If it is annualized, a BRI will be able to make a profit of 32 trillion rupiah per year. And not only for BRI, the presence of this holding is also expected to have a positive impact on Pegadaian and PNM. And let's check it out on the next graphic. And for Pegadaian and PNM, the expectations of this ultra-micro holding, we can see the expectations of Pegadaian. The first thing is it will encourage Pegadaian to be more prepared and strong in facing challenges, including competition and business digitization. And the second one is it will be able to expand access for ultra-micro businesses and SMEs. And for Permodalan Nasional Madani or PNM, the system integration can optimize the role of PNM empowerment by reducing overhead costs by about 8%. And the ultra-micro holding will encourage underprivileged communities to have access to more structured funding in one ecosystem. And the ultra-micro holding also aims to accelerate the pace of financial inclusion, sustainable financing, and target 57 million customers. Of the total customers who want to be targeted, 30 million of them are believed to have no access to formal funding sources. In fact, 5 million of them are estimated to be under the shadow of moneylenders. However, the credit ratio for micro and small businesses looks quite stable throughout 2020. And to get it clearer, let's see it in the next graphic. So here it is, the ratio of micro, small and medium business loans in 2020 to total MSME loans. We can see in January, micro credit or micro loans 25.9%, and then the small 31.02%, and medium 43.08%. And on December 2020, 0.65%, and small 32.36%, and medium 44.99%, the total ratio of business loans to total MSME loans in 2020. The data is taken from Bank Indonesia. And currently, access to financing services or lending in the ultra-micro segment is around 20%. So it still needs encouragement to spur national economic growth. And through holding, it is hoped that it will be able to provide modern financing schemes and no longer require collateral in lending, because on average, MSMEs do not have adequate assets. In the ultra-micro holding business model, the government, we can say, will boost business empowerment through PNM and business development through Pegadaian and BRI. And yes, viewers, hopefully with the presence of ultra-micro holdings, there will be a strengthening of economic resilience and quality growth. And stay tuned on us, Market Headline will be right back after this break.
Jika Anda adalah investor saham, Anda mendapat keuntungan di antaranya capital gain, yaitu keuntungan dari selisih harga beli dan harga jual saham. Dividen, yaitu pembagian laba kepada pemegang saham. Keuntungan lainnya, investor bisa memperoleh pendapatan tambahan dengan meminjamkan sahamnya melalui layanan pinjam meminjam efek atau PME. Apa itu PME? PME merupakan pinjaman efek sementara berupa saham dari investor untuk keperluan penyelesaian transaksi bursa. Apa saja manfaat yang didapatkan? Investor memperoleh keuntungan. Investor tetap dapat menerima dana sebagai pengganti dividen jika ada pembagian dividen saat sahamnya sedang dipinjamkan. Pendapatan yang diterima investor dari layanan PME dapat digunakan untuk membayar biaya penyimpanan saham. Saat nilai saham turun, investor tetap dapat memperoleh pendapatan hingga mengurangi potensi kerugian. Dan yang terpenting, KPEI menjamin pengembalian saham yang dipinjamkan sesuai waktu yang telah ditentukan. Menarik bukan? Prosesnya sangat sederhana. Investor cukup menghubungi perusahaan sekuritas dan menandatangani formulir perjanjian PME. Selanjutnya, jika terdapat kebutuhan penyelesaian transaksi bursa oleh peminjam, saham yang akan dipinjamkan diserahkan kepada KPEI melalui perusahaan sekuritas. Setelah proses PME selesai, maka KPEI akan mengembalikan saham yang telah dipinjamkan dan memberikan pendapatan kepada investor melalui perusahaan sekuritas. Segera hubungi perusahaan sekuritas Anda, customer care KPEI, atau kunjungi website kami untuk mengetahui layanan PME. PME, pinjamkan sahamnya, dapatkan manfaatnya.
Senat Amerika Serikat mengesahkan virus corona senilai 1,9 triliun dolar.
Welcome back on Market Headline. At Jakarta Composite Index Intraday Movement, earlier today, JCI was open at the level of 6,015.48. And then approaching the closing time on the first session, the index was on the level of 6,086.95. And then the index was showing strengthening trend by the second session closing time. Index was closed at the level of 6,087.84. In short, JCI went up 1.53%. And next, we're going to see the sectoral movement. Leading the dynamics of today's trading, we got Basic as the leader of strengthening trend that went up 2.86%. Property went up 2.18%. And we got Health as the leader of weakening trend that went down 0.98%. And Transportation and Logistics went down 0.85%. And moving on to top gainers and top losers, here are the key highlights from today's trading session. BBRI went up 2.54% to the level of 4,040 rupiah per share. Arto went up 4.95% to the level of 14,850 rupiah per share. BANK went up 10.47% to the level of 3,270 rupiah per share. Agro went up 6.25% to the level of 1,445 rupiah per share. And meantime, the top losers for today's trading, we got BBNI went down 0.4% to the level of 4,950 rupiah. BHIT went down 6.48% to the level of 1,101 rupiah per share. BFIN went down 1.6% to the level of 925 rupiah per share. And Kalbe Pharma went down 4.05% to the level of 1,420 rupiah per share. And next, we're going to see the intraday movement of rupiah towards US dollar. Open at the level of 14,410, rupiah was also showing strengthening trend towards US dollar and was closed at the level of 14,376. And in summary, rupiah went up 0.68%. The consumer goods issuer Garuda Food plans to conduct a stock split. The plan was approved at the annual general meeting of shareholders, which was held on June 16, 2021. The issuer of consumer goods, Garuda Food Putra Putri Jaya, plans to conduct a stock split. Shareholders approved the plan through the annual general meeting of shareholders, which was held on June 16, 2021. With a 1-to-5 ratio, Garuda Food shares are likely to be trading at the level of 360 rupiah per share after the stock split. In addition to approving the stock split plan, the shareholders meeting also approved the plan to buy back shares. The allocation of funds for the share buyback is set at a maximum of 50 billion rupiah, including brokerage fees and other costs related to the share buyback. Meanwhile, the buyback period is carried out for a maximum of 18 months since the plan to buy back shares was approved by the shareholders meeting. IDX Channel reports. Bumi Serpong Damai managed to book net profit of 588.29 billion rupiah in the first quarter of 2021. The profit increased by 125.58% year-on-year. The performance of Bumi Serpong Damai is getting better in the first quarter of 2021 and is reflected in the company's net profit of 588.29 billion. This profit was recorded to have increased by 126.58% when compared to the same period in 2020, which was only 259.65 billion rupiah. According to Hermawan Wijaya, director of Bumi Serpong Damai, during the first quarter of 2021, the company managed to record an operating revenue growth of 11.6%, or reaching 1.67 trillion rupiah, compared to the same period in 2020 of 1.49 trillion rupiah. Meanwhile, the growth in company's operating income was greater than the growth in cost of goods sold. In the first quarter of 2021, the cost of goods sold was recorded at 446.75 billion, down 1.3%. Meanwhile, gross profit in the 3 months of 2021 was recorded to grow 17.18% to 1.22 trillion rupiah. IDX Channel reports. And now moving on to the global update. United States has sent Taiwan 2.5 million Moderna COVID-19 vaccines, and India has hit record high of jabbing 7.5 million vaccines a day. And more stories on International Minute.
The U.S. sent 2.5 million doses of Moderna COVID-19 vaccine to Taiwan, tripling an earlier pledge in the donations with both public health and geopolitical meaning. The shipment arrived on China Airlines cargo plane that left Memphis on the previous day. The donation reflects U.S. commitment to Taiwan as a trusted friend and member of international family of democracies. The United States continues to enforce United Nations Security Council sanctions on North Korea over its nuclear weapons program and urge other countries to do the same. The Biden administration had obviously promised a practical, calibrated approach to North Korea, including diplomatic efforts to persuade the country to give up its banned nuclear weapon and ballistic missiles programs. After weeks of criticism, a chaotic rollout has worsened the second wave that killed hundreds of thousands. And finally, India gave free COVID-19 vaccines to its citizens. India gave out a record of 7.5 million vaccine doses a day under a federal campaign to inoculate all adults for free. Around 24.9% of adults in India, 44% of people above 54 and 47.8% of those above 60 have been administered at least one dose of COVID-19 vaccines. Meanwhile, 17% of the country's populations at least had received one dose. Only 3.7% are vaccinated. Volkswagen luxury sport car unit Porsche has setting up a joint venture with the custom cells to produce high-performance batteries that will significantly reduce charging times. The partnerships with the Custom Cells, a company in southern Germany specializing in lithium oil cells, will aim to produce car batteries with higher energy density than the prototype used in Porsche's current electric cars. European car makers are pushing to reduce their dependence on Asia for batteries as they are rolling out the electric models to meet stricter emissions targets in the European Union. IDX Channel reported.
And viewers, step aside from market condition as coronavirus pandemic takes big role on current economic situation. Here it is an update data about coronavirus globally. And the news close our market headlines today. Please enjoy our next program on IDX Channel, Your Trustworthy Economic, Business and Capital Market Channel. And as the COVID-19 pandemic is still going on, please stay safe by wearing masks, keeping physical distancing, and washing your hands with soap, and rinse it thoroughly with running water. I'm Fajar Wayong. Have a nice evening, and stay safe.
Enak banget ya makanannya. Cuma aku nggak bisa masak sih sayangnya. Coba ya, ada Chef Juna, terus aku diajarin sama dia. Hai Chef, jadi hari ini kita mau masak apa nih?
Langsung ditembak aja.
Langsung aja Chef. Penasaran nih kita mau masak apa dengan menu-menu yang ada kayak Indonesian food gitu ya?
Indonesian food ya, kita kembali ke bumbu kuning, ada daun singkong, ada tahu, ya. Itu nanti kita masukkan ke dalam dada ayam. Ada santan,
berarti
jadi agak
stuffed
berkuah.
Chicken ya?
Stuffed chicken. Jadi kita langsung bikin bumbu kuningnya ya. Kemiri.
Semuanya ditaruh situ, semua
Iya,
dituangin.
bawang merah. Oke. Bawang putih.
Tapi ini semuanya di blend sampai benar-benar hancur banget
Iya,
gitu.
tapi tentunya mereka akan ada kayak serabut-serabut kecil, which is fine. Capek sih.
Mungkin nggak sih